Back in 2019, I took a trip to go visit my cousin in Montana, and we were going on an elk hunt. And what you see here in this photo is the Lee Metcalf Wilderness, or a portion of it. And at the time I took this photo, I really didn't realize the significance it would play as a pivotal shift in my career. And fast forwarding to today, my understanding of rangelands as it relates to how we interact with forages in agriculture. So today I want to talk to you about blazing this new trail for Southern Livestock forage mixtures, just like the Old West. When you take a look at these two photos, what are some of the major differences? First, we have geographic location, Ennis, Montana, and Tifton, Georgia. And these two places have very contrasting environmental conditions. Ennis has extreme heat and extreme cold. It has very little precipitation, long-standing drought, and fire, occasional fires. Now in Tifton is the exact opposite, where we have extreme heat, extreme humidity, lots of precipitation, and even hurricane season as being in the coastal plains region. Now these places are also going to differ significantly in forage species richness, which is the number of species, as well as the evenness, and that is the abundance of the species present. And all of these factors contribute to the management techniques that are used in these two regions. And so the question that I want to ask today is, what is the significance of these two extremes? Why am I comparing two contrasting locations in terms of forage mixtures for the Southeast? And what it boils down to is ecosystem stability. Increasing biodiversity through increasing in complex forage mixes, such as grasses, legumes, and non-leguminous broadleaf species that we define as forbs. They all contribute to better nutrient utilization and increases available plants for meeting dietary requirements of ruminants. As far as chemical and biological regulation, they can handle extreme weather events, as previously mentioned, like fire, drought, as well as additional shifts in the climate, as we're seeing with climate change. We can see increases in organic matter from increased forage species mixtures. The cation exchange complex can help to retain and recycle more nutrients, increasing soil biology for things like nitrogen assimilation and nutrient availability is important. And all these species, these microbiological species, have niches, individual niches, and as well as the importance of water holding capacity. And it has been stated that the next war will be fought over a finite resource. And as we know, none is more important than water. And lastly, supports many wildlife species. And we will not go into too much detail with that today. So why is ecosystem stability important? It is important because there are a number of limiting factors of optimization and profitability for cattle producers in the Southeast. And how do we reduce the impact of those factors? Unpredictable markets and increasing input costs have influenced livestock producers to transition to low input pasture systems, who may need to rely on complex species mixtures for forage to mitigate some of the dependency. In terms of profitability, it is most effective to manage outputs versus maximizing forage performance. Environmental factors, we have pest encounters and the adaptations to simple forage mixes. We have resistance challenges and the proliferated use of pesticides. We have warmer climates and the changing forage dynamics, as well as soil degradation. The all-important question is, how will these Western complex forage concepts that can reduce the impact of these limitations respond in Southern forage systems while maintaining animal performance? First, let me start out by defining what I mean by complex forage systems. And what I'm referring to is increasing forage mixes more than 3 species. And the adoption of more than 3 species is beneficial not only through the regulation of nutrients, water, and soil, as previously mentioned, but also increases to forage yields. One study has shown that more than 58% forage yield increases have occurred when forage mixtures have increased from 3 to 9 species during years of a drought. And this goes back to better nutrient utilization by different plants with their own unique interactions within the soil. Increased diversity can play a major role on the complexities of ruminant microbiomes for ruminant dietary requirements, and as a result, you will have increased average daily gains and increased milk production. As another study illustrated that animal performance was impacted and more milk was produced per hectare, up to 86% during a drought, with increased forage mixtures from 3 to 9 species. In terms of resistance, again, drought and wetter years are able to regulate the demands that it takes to produce forage, as well as weed pressure, resistance to weed pressure, and increasing these species mixes limits invasive weed encroachment. Now, some of the unknowns are shifts in species composition because of these increased mixtures and the effects of grazing behavior on complex forage systems, and more research is required. In conclusion, now is the time where cattle producers are being called to blaze a trail into a new frontier. Forage researchers are providing compelling data to mentally cut the perimeter barbed wire on these old traditional methods. Main takeaways are increasing forage mixtures that mimic nature, which increases ecosystem forage function. So what does this mean for the Southeast? We need to transition more pastures from simple combinations to complex forage systems, similar to Western landscapes. Increasing these complex forage mixtures improves our pasture stability, especially in extreme climates, and increases resiliency to changes in the environment, and ultimately decreases our heavy reliance on costly inputs. Complex forage systems increases or maintains animal performance during down years, which maintains complexities of the ruminant microbiome. And the last thing that I would like to leave you with is we need to go west, young man or woman, with these novel pest management strategies that have proven to be successful in ecosystems, and eagerly embrace the nature of the West. This concludes this presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at nicholas.shea@uga.edu. Thank you.